Welcome back to the True Rhymes. Here we go again. Golly gosh, you've obviously enjoyed yourself because you're back for another instalment. Tonight we're going to have a look at Little Bo Peep, who lost her sheep. Well, was she really a she? Is the next question we're going to find out on this journey down the rabbit hole. So I thought, just as an intro, just in case you don't know the rhyme, Little Bo Peep and her sheep, I've got a little bit more of a modern version here on my phone. Some of the other ones I've read are a bit old school, so I thought I'd go with a little bit less English repertoire, but it's going to be okay. So here we go. Pardon my glasses because I can't see for shit. Here goes Little Bo Peep in the modern version. Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep and doesn't know where to find them. Leave them alone and they'll come home bringing their tails behind them. Little Bo Peep fell fast asleep and dreamt she'd heard them bleating. But when she woke, she found it a joke, for they were still fleeting. Then she took her little crook, determined for to find them. She found them indeed, but it made her heart bleed, for they left their tails behind them. It happened one day as Bo Peep did stray into a meadow hard by. There she inspired their tails side by side, all hung on a tree to dry. She heaved a sigh and wiped her eye, and over the hillocks went rambling, and tried what she could, as a shepherdess should. Well, now there's a very bloomin' involved little bloomin' rhyme, isn't it? I mean, goodness gracious. Now, the most sanitised version that I enjoyed was it was actually a rhyme to tell little girls if they were out as a shepherdess minding the sheep that they should not fall asleep because it was all very bad, and I'm assuming the dad would come along and give them respect. What the hell, the girl was out minding sheep in the middle of a field by herself, I don't know. But anyway, if you ever get hired as a sheep minding child, don't fall asleep because you'll probably get your butt whipped. But the other version that I thought was rather interesting, apparently Little Bo Peep was actually a little bit of a satire about King Charles I, which isn't a bad effort being the first of somebody. Anyway, and that was around about the 1600s, and he had a little bit of a greedy little life he was living, so he was, perhaps extended a little bit beyond his ability to support himself. So he decided that he needed to up the taxes. So he upped the taxes on tobacco, which is rather cool, very reminiscent, isn't it? And he upped the taxes on alcohol. Does that sound familiar? And then he upped the taxes on tea and coffee and a few other luxury items. And the interesting thing is that the people who, of course, as you would know, had their own way of getting around taxes, so they became smugglers. And they were smuggling goods in and out of the ports down to the sort of southern part of England, which is a little bit down there with the Cockneys and the little bit shady mob they were. And the interesting thing is that the Little Bo Peep was actually the customs officers. So they were the Bo Peeps. They were having a bit of a look because I don't know if you know about, I guess that little saying, if you're going to have a Bo Peep, you have a bit of a look. Have a bit of a look in, you have a Bo Peep and have a look through the door. So the custom officers were the Bo Peep. The lambs or the sheep, they were the smugglers. And the tails, the interesting part about that was the tails were the bits and pieces that the Bo Peep folk or the custom officers would collect. So every now and then they would get hold of a little bit of rum or a little bit of tobacco or a little bit of tea and coffee, and they'd hang it up in the bloody garden square to make a point. And so that was the tails that got caught. How crazy is that shit? Honestly. So part of the story was about telling the smugglers where they should actually be, because they were smuggling it across the channel from France to England and back from England to France. And so there was very much excitement amongst the townsfolk when the smuggling ship would turn up. Of course, they'd have a blooming load of rum or tobacco or something on board. Of course, the townsfolk were happy to see the smugglers turn up because they had a whole load of tobacco and alcohol, which was generally rum or brandy, on board, which wasn't subject to King Charles's taxes. So you can imagine it was a lot better value. And of course, I don't know, I'm imagining that they traded a few things to the smugglers that they carted off to France again. And next thing you know, we've got a whole other little bloody economic exercise going on that nobody wanted to know about. Doesn't this sound familiar? We've got a king or a government that is trying to live beyond their means by taxing the crap out of us peasants or us middle class folk. And so on we go through history. 1600 years ago or yesterday, nothing really changes other as a king or a bloody government. Who the hell knows what's going on? But what I do know is that you technically need to pay your taxes, otherwise you go to jail. So let's just move right along there. We have to write our own nursery rhymes going forward, or anyway, who knows where this might all end up. We might actually find out what the hell happened 500 years ago, or in the 1600s, or sometimes in the thousands. And hell, I've even got some ideas about the BCs before even this even got bloody seriously crazy. Next week, we're going to have a look at Jack and Jill, which is actually tied up with Little Bo Peep in an interesting way, because it's all about King Charles in another format. But I think he was a bit of a dastardly character in history somehow. So tune in next week and find out what the hell happened with that pail of water up the hill. Well, thank you for making it to the end of another True Rhymes episode. If you've been enjoying yourself, don't forget to subscribe, click like, share with your friends. Actually, hell, invite them over for a bourbon and watch the show together and have a good chuckle.